Howdy music fans, thanks for joining me today. I am doing a video request. It's only my second. For Jeff over at J Neb. That's his channel. Go check it out. He only has a few videos up, but I'm sure he's going to work on that and build his collection of videos. He likes jazz, has at least one jazz video up, and he did a couple of threads, and that's where we connected. We had some similar likes and similar tastes, and it turns out we've actually been at some of the same shows, which is funny. And if we've been at a couple of the same shows, we've probably been at more than a couple of the same shows. So that's kind of funny. But he asked me to do a video on John Hiatt. And I've debated whether or not I was going to do a John Hiatt video at all. He is one of my favorite songwriters. I love him to death. But he gets props. I thought about doing him in an Unsung Heroes episode, but he really, people know who he is. He makes a good living. He gets props. He's got a lot of records. And songwriters cover him like crazy, other performers, and make him a lot of money. So I was on the fence, but since he asked me to do a John Hiatt video, I thought, well, I'll do a John Hiatt video. So let's get started. He's got about 22 albums. I think it's 22 studio albums, and the first, I think, 7 pretty much went nowhere at first. Until he hit his stride. And I don't have them anymore. I used to have them on vinyl. I have a couple of them. I have Overcoats, which has a couple songs that I do like. And it has a couple of songs that are kind of country sounding and a couple that are silly, like I Killed an Ant with My Guitar, which I love. That song. Motorboat to Heaven I like a lot. The Lady of the Night is kind of a country sounding song. And he kind of runs the gamut. He was kind of in that Elvis Costello, Nick Lowe, maybe Dave Edmunds-ish, Graham Parker kind of world for a while. And he was also a drunk, and he's been a recovering alcoholic now for a long time. And I believe that's kind of when his career really turned around for him, is when he sobered up. So this has lyrics. So this is one of his first albums that I like. The rest of these albums are Hangin' Around the Observatory, and like I said, I used to have them on vinyl. All of a Sudden, Slug Line, 2-Bit Monsters, and Riding with the King and Warming Up to the Ice Age. So for some reason, I have 2-Bit Monsters recorded on a burn. But Riding with the King, you might know that title from the B.B. King Eric Clapton album. That is the John Hiatt song, Riding with the King. Now here's where he starts to turn the corner. This is Bring the Family. And this has a song called Thing Called Love, which Bonnie Raitt had a massive, massive hit with. And this is a core band of his that he would kind of, have other run-ins with over the years. But this band is Nick Lowe on bass, Ry Cooder on slide guitar, and Jim Keltner on drums. You can't get any better than that. And the songs are spectacular. I love every song on this record. Lipstick Sunset is a real pretty one. But Memphis in the Meantime has gotten covered by some newer neo-country artist. And Alone in the Dark is a good one. I'm trying to see some other ones that... Have a Little Faith in Me. That's just him and piano. And I believe Mavis Staples might have covered that, as well as plenty of other people, too. Tip of My Tongue is a really, really tender, kind of scorching ballad, breakup song, or Thank You Girls, kind of as a rocker, and just a great band. So yeah, this album is really where he starts to turn the corner, but it didn't get a lot of acclaim that I know of, except for Bonnie Raitt had a massive hit for him, and I'm sure he was happy with that. That probably has secured him for life financially. But he's an artist, and he's a songwriter, and a fantastic one, and so he continues to work. And so this was kind of the start. It's kind of like two shades of his career, 2 sections. So next came Slow Turning. This is the one where I discovered him. I heard the line, and I'm yelling at the kids in the back because they're banging like Charlie Watts, and I went out and bought this record. I heard it on the radio from the song Slow Turning. This also has... Feels Like Rain, and I believe that was covered by Buddy Guy, yeah. And it has Slow Turning and Drive South and Tennessee Plates, and Drive South was covered by some newer country artist as well. And this one has Sonny Landreth on slide guitar, so that's when he starts to hook up with Sonny Landreth. And this is John Hiatt and the Goners. If he's not with the Goners, it's just John Hiatt and Combo or something like that usually, or it's an actual band that he plays with. But it's typically the Goners, Ken Blevins on drums, and I don't know who's on bass, but Sonny Landreth on slide guitar when you get lucky. He recently did a 30-year anniversary tour of this album, and I got to see it, and it was the original Goners, including Sonny Landreth. So it was amazing, absolutely amazing. I've seen him several times, maybe 6 or 7 times. And then he kind of changes here. Stolen Moments comes after that, and it's a good album, but it's very differently produced, and it's very produced. It's got Real Fine Love and 10 Little Indians and Child of the Wild Blue Yonder, Back of My Mind, Stolen Moments. And some of these are great. Rockback Billy is kind of a rockabilly type thing, kind of a throwaway song, but there's some good songs on here. But he really kind of changes up his production, and then he kind of wanders again for a little while. Maybe he was drinking again. I'm just kidding. I really don't know. But this album, like I say, it is good. I like it because it came out when I got in, soon after I got into him. So I bought it, the vinyl I had, and I was a fan. I just kept going with John Hiatt albums. And speaking of more produced, that leads me to the next one, which is really pretty big production, big drums, big rockin' hollow body Gretsch guitars, and this is called Perfectly Good Guitar. Oh, sorry, this one was called Stolen Moments. This is called Perfectly Good Guitar, and it has that song Perfectly Good Guitar about smashing guitars up, and Buffalo River Home's probably the best thing off this album. It has Something Wild and Blue Telescope and some other things, but I would say Buffalo River Home and Perfectly Good Guitar are probably the best songs off of this album. And it's not bad at all. It's just very produced. That's all I can say about it. It's just very produced. The songs are decent. He's experimenting, but he's a good songwriter. There's no question. Then he came out with this Hiatt Alive at Budokan, and he's in like a karate outfit at the dojo or something. And he also had an album called Riot with Hiatt, which was I think only on vinyl, and you could find it on cassette occasionally, a bootleg of it on cassette, which is I think what I had when I was a kid, just getting into him. But that's it, the Riot. And he also did one or two Austin City Limits releases as well, DVD and CD, I believe. And so, yeah, that's his main live album. Now we turn another corner. Walk On is just a wonderful, wonderful album. Cry Love, You Must Go, Walk On, Good As She Could Be, that's probably the weakest of the first batch. But then The River Knows Your Name is a gorgeous song, and Native Son. The title is the same as the Richard Wright book, but it's not anything about that. But it is a fantastic album. Dust Down a Country Road is a beautiful song. I can't wait. And he's got some weird guitar sounds in here, but they're pretty cool. They work very well. And I might actually end up taking back what I said about Native Son. It might kind of be something like touching on that Richard Wright novel. Yeah, maybe it is kind of hinting at that. I don't know. I haven't read anything about what his thoughts on that song and what he said about it, but take your wife, take your family, take your gun. It's about being on the run, but it's Native Son was about one kid who murdered somebody, and it was a black kid who murdered a white girl, and Richard Wright is of course the prominent black writer, black author. So I don't know if there's any connection there in John Hiatt's mind or in his songwriting, but Native Son is a great song, and it's a great album in general. Now again, he gets a little goofy. This is called Little Head. I don't know what he was thinking here with this album, but there are two great songs on it, Pirate Radio and Sure Pinocchio. The rest of it I don't even know very well, because I never cared about it much. And I think it was around this time that he teamed up again with Nick Lowe and Jim Keltner and Ry Cooder and did that album Little Village, and they called themselves Little Village. And that also had, I think Solar Sex Panel was the only thing that came out of that. It got on the radio. And there was some other thing about, that was kind of a rocker. I think I have it near the room, but it's okay. It's not great. You buy it because, it's got Nick Lowe and Ry Cooder and Jim Keltner. It might be great. Like that first one, Bring the Family, was so spectacular. It's not a repeat by any chance. Anyway, now we move on and we get into a pretty solid stretch here. He still kind of goes like this, but it's pretty solid. Crossing Muddy Waters is a phenomenal album. It's very sparse acoustic. It starts out with some kind of country-esque songs, and then goes into some very bare bones blues tracks. Kind of the second, it's kind of like a side A and side B. I'm guessing this came out when vinyl was still going strong, the first wave or whatever, before it has made its giant comeback now. Yeah, so this one is definitely, of his later albums, I recommend this highly. This and Walk On, I highly recommend. Just a wonderful album. Now he again switches gears. This is John Hiatt and the Goners, and it does have Sonny Landreth, and Bobby Keys plays on this album on one song. This is called Beneath This Gruff Exterior, and it is just a fun ride of rock and roll and blues rock and crunchy rock and roll. It's just great. I like pretty much every song in this album, as I recall. My favorites are "Oh My Dog and Me" is a pretty fun song, and that's not a rocker, but it's a cool song about him and his dog. "How Bad's the Coffee" is a pretty good rocker. "Almost Fed Up with the Blues." "Circle Back" is a really great rocker. That's the one I was thinking of. But this whole album is pretty solid. I really like this one. And now this one is also pretty solid, and he goes back and forth. This one's a much more mellow acoustic album, Master of Disaster. And it is good, no question about it. It's just different. It's more folk rock, country rock. But I like it quite a bit, actually. I like this album. It has some really good songs on it. Including the title track. A lot of his songs have title tracks, but Master Disaster, Howlin' Down the Cumberland, that's a great song, and so is Thunderbird. Wintertime Blues is great. And then Old School and Back on the Corner, Ain't Ever Going Back. Yeah, those are great. Now this one I don't have the actual album. It's called Same Old Man, but it's more kind of mix of country rock. And yeah, it's a good album overall. It's country rock, I would say, country folk rock. And then this one is kind of similar. These are kind of a pair, it seems like. The Open Road. This has a song called Haulin', which is a kind of a rocker. But it's, more acoustic. Definitely a full band, but just more acoustic country rock type stuff. And Dirty Jeans and Mudslide Hymns. This one kind of runs the gamut. It's a little less focused. It has some kind of crunchy blues, and then it has a rocker called Detroit Made, and Adios to California is a real pretty one. And then When New York Had Her Heart Broke is about 9/11. And that's a tough subject to write about, any of those kinds of songs, and he doesn't exactly nail it, in my opinion, but it's still a good album overall. But it's a little bit, kind of, there's some country rock, and then there's some kind of hard rock blues on here. Not hard rock blues, but some kind of bluesy type stuff, and some folky stuff, and it's kind of, a little bit all over the place. Now this one's got a bigger sound, not as produced as Perfectly Good Guitar or Stolen Moments. This is called Mystic Pinball, but it's got some great. It's a more harder blues rock type sound. For the most part, there are some acoustic songs. There's a song called Wood Chipper on here. You can guess what that's about if you think about the end of Fargo there. And yeah, there's some sinister songs on here that are kind of just interesting. Like, where is he coming from? Where do you get this imagery? Where do you get this stuff from at this time in his life? And I don't know a lot. I honestly have not read much about John Hiatt. I'll be honest. I really haven't. I don't know why. I just never have. And maybe it's hard to find because he's kind of personal, kind of private. But that's probably not true anymore because the internet and stuff's everywhere. But early on, I never really looked into him much. And I guess that just became a habit for me. In terms of My Surrender, this is a very raw, acoustic, bluesy kind of album. Very raw. Almost sounds like he's playing a metal resonator as his acoustic guitar for some of these songs. And it's got a DVD that's a bonus of live stuff from, judging by the set list, it looks like it's probably mostly from around 84 or 85 or whenever Slow Turning came out. Maybe that was more like 88 or 89. Yeah, it's got stuff from Slow Turning and Bring the Family. A little bit of Perfectly Good Guitar. And it has Terms of My Surrender. So, oh, it has Crossing Muddy Water. So I guess it is newer. He's just doing mostly older songs. Not all, but mostly older songs from, his earlier in his career after he broke through. And then finally, this is most recent from 2018. This is called The Eclipse Sessions. And this came out, and I was just blown away. I love it, and I was so happy that he came out with a great album. Again, it's on New West Records. I guess he's been on New West for a little while here. Yeah, it's got some great songs on it. Poor Imitation of God is probably my favorite on this record. But in general, it's got some good, rock and roll. It's got some good country blues, country-ish and stuff, and it's just a great album in general. The Eclipse Sessions, that's his last thing, 2018. Okay, folks, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Love to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Thanks.